the library is very pleased to partner with the League of Women Voters to bring you candidate forums for the elections of 2014. Your library in Laramie serves its community by providing early literacy programs, teen programs, now tween programs for our children, gadget classes, and information for all to enhance the use of technology. We are proud to provide information and opportunities like this forum this evening. Libraries are neutral ground for all issues. Please practice decorum in your discussions. While we support this forum, we are not able to display political information from candidates. I'm very personally proud to see all of you turned out for tonight. Allow me to introduce Nancy Lockwood, representing the League of Women Voters. Introduce the dog. Yeah. It's quite a presence. Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. And like you said, I'm Nancy Lockwood. I'm the Vice President of the League of Women Voters and also the Voter Service Chair. And I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. Can you all hear me? I feel like I have to stand on my toes here. There we go. Is that better?
Oh, you better.
What?
Down.
Down. Is that better?
Try again.
How's that? There you go. Got it?
Not much.
All right. I would like to actually thank the library staff, particularly Cindy and her assistant Caitlin White. I'm not sure what her proper title is, Cindy, but she's been a great help to us, and I know she's a great assistant for you. She's helped with getting all the arrangements with the chairs and tables, nameplates, those sorts of things, and I think she's had the help with the youth group that meets here at the library as well. Before we get started with our questions for the candidates, I'm going to go over a little general information about the election and other things and the forum procedures. As a courtesy for everyone, I'd like to remind you all to turn your cell phones to vibrate or off. I also want to remind you that video recording is not permitted. We are videotaping the forum, and it will be posted on the League of Women Voters website, which you can go to at wyominglwv.org, and there also will be DVDs available again. Is that correct? We do the DVDs, Cindy? I think we have in the other years made DVDs available through the public library for checkout if you want to see the forum that way. On the back table over here, near Katie, are some information about the league. There should be some membership brochures. And I also want to say that if you enjoy these forums and you're interested in current issues and civic responsibility, you might want to consider joining the league. It's a wonderful organization and a way to be involved in your community. We also have some books back there that were published by the Wyoming State League. They're called A Look at Wyoming Government, and they provide information about our state government here. Candidates have also provided some information, and they are on the other table back here near Judy. Any candidate information that they brought, campaign literature, statements about themselves. We'll get there, Judy. I'd forgotten. And I want to remind candidates, too, that as Cindy mentioned, you need to pick up your literature at the conclusion of the event, or it does get pitched because they cannot keep it here at the county library, being a government building. The primary election will be Tuesday, August 19, with polling places open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Or you can vote early by completing a ballot at the county clerk's office or by requesting an absentee ballot from the clerk's office. You can obtain election information at the county clerk's website or the Wyoming Secretary of State's website as well. And if you are not a registered voter or need to change your voter information, you can also do that at the clerk's office, or you can do it at your polling place on election day. And if you're going to register, you do need to have a photo ID with you. On the back table as well with the league things are sample ballots and also a precinct map that shows wards and precincts. So afterwards, if you want to look and find out what precinct you're in, so you know what ballot you would be using and who you're voting for, you can do that. There is one correction to that precinct map. That one's from last year. They have changed the polling place that's listed as the indoor tennis court, and I believe they're going to be voting at the Armory this go around. Is that, okay, you hear the correct me, good. And as Judy was just holding up a minute ago, the League of Women Voters has, for years and years and years, published a voter guide. We draft questions for all the races, and the candidates are given those questions and send their responses back, and we compile those, and the Boomerang graciously publishes that as a voter guide, a pull-out section that will be in the Boomerang August 10. We also have it now posted on our website, and it's also a hard copy is available here at the library, at the county clerk's office, and I think we've got it distributed a few other places, like the rec center and the Epson Center, so you can take a look at it if you like. At this time, I'd like to give any other candidates that are in the audience here tonight a chance to stand up and very briefly introduce themselves. Do you have any that would like to do so? You can start, Jim.
I'm Jim Shermatzler. I'm a candidate for county attorney on the Republican ticket.
I'm Brad Schoiker. I'm county assessor, and I'm running for re-election.
I'm Janice Sexton. I'm the clerk of district court, and I'm running for re-election.
Klaus Hansen, City Council, Ward 3, running for re-election.
And Josh Brazil, Republican, running for deputy.
I'm Dana Brewer. I'm running for election for the county assessor's office on the Republican ticket.
I'm Peggy Trent. I'm running for Albany County Attorney as a Democrat.
Dave O'Malley, Albany County Sheriff, for re-election.
I'm Jennifer Graham. I'm running for county clerk.
And then I also know, did I miss anyone?
Nancy.
Oh, Jackie, you're here.
Jackie Gonzalez running for re-election for Albany County Clerk.
And Mike Osterman couldn't be here tonight. He's one of the county commissioner candidates. He had an unexpected medical procedure that he had to have done, but he does have a representative, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Good evening, folks. My name is Jenny Wilford, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Mike Osterman. And as she shared, he had a medical procedure, and he's recovering very nicely, but unfortunately was not able to make it this evening. I've left some information on the back table along with his website if you'd like to learn more about him, and he's certainly interested in hearing from all of you, and certainly excited to be included in the race. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself.
Thank you all for being here. We're going to begin tonight's forum with questions from our candidates here. The questions are to be written down and can be submitted at any time. There should be pads of paper and pencils at each row. When you have a question ready, you can just hold it up, and we've got league members available who will collect the questions from you and provide them to our moderator. The questions are to be directed towards all candidates, not to a particular candidate. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to each question. And we do have a timekeeper who will signal by holding up a sign. She's right here in the front.
Don't
holding
try
up a
that.
question. She's got a green sign to start.
When I stand up and
sign.
dance, you know.
And you get a warning sign. We
Yeah.
should have actually made that one yellow, maybe. When your time is coming up, when you're down to 30 seconds left, she'll hold up the 30-second sign. I want to encourage or remind you to use the microphones. They're on the table, and I think we have a new amplification system for those of you who've come to the forums in the past. So hopefully we won't have near as much feedback. But you might try to remember to turn your mic off when you're done speaking and pass it down to the next person, and turn it on when you are speaking. And there's one on each side. And we can, if you're having trouble hearing, give us a signal and we can turn the volume up on the individual mics. We have a moderator who may also edit questions for clarity and appropriateness, and may ask further questions to help expand upon an issue. In addition, our moderator may also vary the allowed response time based on the complexity of the question and overall time constraints of the forum. In the last 20 or 30 minutes or so of the forum will be given over to informal conversation with candidates in the audience. And if we are running short on questions, we're not going to hold you here and put it till 9. So then you can have even more than the 30 minutes allotted for mingling. So now I'm going to introduce our moderator here and turn him over. Our moderator is Dr. Terry Rourke. Dr. Rourke has a PhD in astronomy and is the President Emeritus of the University of Wyoming, having served as the president at UW from 1987 to 1997. Currently, he's on the board of directors at Cathedral Home for Children, which includes the Laramie Youth Crisis Center and now also the Carbon County Youth Crisis Center. And he is also the past president of the Cathedral Home Board. Dr. Rourke is also in his third elected term as a member of the Albany County Hospital Board of Trustees, and he has previously served as a chair of this board. He has also served for many years on the Albany County Planning and Zoning Commission in the past as both a member and a chair. So he's also a very active community member, and welcome, Dr. Rourke.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I'm sure this is on. I want to thank the league. I've been attending these, not as moderator, but as an audience member for many, many years, and I find them very, very informative in helping me make my decision as to how I will vote in the primary and the general election. So hats off to the league. I'd also like to thank all of the candidates here. It's not easy to make a decision to run for public office. Some are going to lose, and some are going to receive the approval of the electorate. That's the way our system works. And our system is only going to work well if we have very well qualified candidates to represent us at whatever level of public office they may seek. And so I want to thank each of you for having the guts to run. And this being Wyoming, I'm going to address each of you by your first name. I hope that's not a problem. I know that you have titles and various credentials, but this is Wyoming. I'm Terry, and we're going to go down the row by first names. The first thing I would like in your first 90 seconds for each of you to do, and we're going to start with Tim here and just go right down the row, is to tell us what in your background, your education, your experience, your job opportunities, whatever it is that you feel qualifies you to be a county commissioner.
Thank you all for coming. I think I'll just start off with background. I grew up in Laramie, was born here, know the community very well. I majored in political science at the University of Wyoming. I worked at the Boomerang for 15 years, so that got me involved with in everything that's going on in the community and kind of knowing a lot of people and a lot of what's going on day to day on the ground in Laramie. I've been a county commissioner for 15 and a half years now. I put in my candidate survey, I don't think you could actually be prepared to be a county commissioner unless you've actually been one or you've been in county government and seen it from day to day. Like I think Jackie Gonzalez would probably be the most qualified person for this job. I think Mike Osterman also would be real good because he's there day to day and sees all the operations going on. You have to know a little bit about a lot of different things. I didn't know what I would have to know becoming a county commissioner, like about endangered species, about mosquito control, about health insurance. Just every day it seemed to be something new, annexations, rails to trails, cemeteries, whatever you, it's a very rewarding job. I think anyone that gets a chance to do the job, it's a lot of fun. You get to work with some amazing people at the county level, and I would appreciate your vote for another term as county commissioner, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. We'll go to John.
Hello, I'm John Essley, and that's E-S-S-L-E-Y, not his own name tag there. And I'm a Wyoming native. I've been in this county for 35 years. I've thought about running for politics before, but I was involved in the National Guard and knew that I didn't have enough time to dedicate to this job. I've retired from the National Guard. I now do have time to dedicate. I deployed twice as a maintenance officer with the Army National Guard, and I was in charge of $20 million worth of equipment and $5 million part budget, and I supervised 44 people. So I know about regulations. I'm not afraid of reading regulations and doing my homework, or in this case, state statutes and county statutes. I've done a lot of homework. I'm attending the commission and board meetings of the county departments, and I've been doing a lot of homework, and I am learning very quickly. And I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I now take an oath to protect the citizens of this county and their property and zoning rights.
Thank you, John. Pat?
Thank you, Terry, and our thanks to the League of Women Voters for putting this on again. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Pat Gabriel, born and raised in Cheyenne, came over here to the University of Wyoming in the early 70s, served on the school board for 2 terms, ran for county commission in 1990, was elected, served 5 terms, 20 years experience as a county commissioner. And unfortunately, a couple of years ago, make it 4 years ago, this guy and this guy here beat me out. So that's why I tried for a 6th term, but 4 years ago unsuccessfully. And so after 4 years, I decided I would try this again. I really enjoyed the work, the people, the county, all of the people that you have to deal with on various boards around the city and county. Very rewarding indeed. And just recently, I've been through some dealings with the insurance companies that I won't go into here, but sometimes I can see the frustration that people have with government. And hopefully, as a commissioner with some experience, I can help people get through some of the morass and some of the red tape involved in government. And with my experience, I think I can do that. I get along very well with people. In my 5 terms, I don't think I had too many negative dealings with people or organizations, and felt very positive about the job that I performed as county commissioner. So that's my background, and we'll see what happens the 19th, and then maybe in the general.
Thank you, Pat. Jerry?
I'm Terry Kennedy. I'm a rancher out in the north part of the county. I own Dodge Creek Ranch, about 12,000 acres of land, running cattle and calves out there. And I started in the county government in 1973 with the Weed and Pest Board. I served there 27 years. Albany County Predator Board, Rock Creek Mosquito Board, and of course County Commissioner for, I just finished up 12 years or 3 terms. Enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of things that come up. You have to try to be fair to everybody, not be messing around, flip-flopping and everything else. Everything has to be pretty well straight, and try to do the best for everything. I also worked with the aquifer protection, and we got that all through a year ago, and so there, you know, there's a lot to being a county commissioner. It's sort of like Tim says, if you aren't one, you really don't know all the things you're going to hit, and even if you are one, you don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Ray?
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, League of Women Voters. My name is Ray McElwee, and my name is Ray McElwee, and I've been in Laramie since 1991. I came here to go to the university, met my wife during that time. I graduated with a degree in philosophy. We were married. We spent 6 years living in Rock River. Then we moved back to Laramie, spent here a few years in town. Now we live south of town in Albany County. We have children, and we have 4-H animals, and we live to enjoy the rural lifestyle. I am a business owner. I am one of the owners of Groat House Construction. It's a general contracting company. It's been in Laramie for 60 years. We work throughout the state. I work in the office here in Laramie, or on the administration side of the business. I'm active in Rotary Club. I'm on the board of the hockey club here in town, so we stay pretty active with the children's side of things. I've been active with the Laramie Economic Development Corporation. I have a lot of understanding of how grants work. I have a lot of understanding how legislation works, and I think I can bring that to bear in county operations. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ray. Gary.
My name's Gary Welkin, and I came to Albany County in 1997 and went to work for the sheriff's office. When we decided to take a move from the Methodist church we were serving in Rollins. In the Methodist system, you moved every 3 to 5 years, and it became a family problem that it was hard on our family. We wanted to live somewhere, and we lived in Colorado in a number of towns, and we liked Laramie, and we wanted to make this our home, and my grandkids are natives. So I celebrate that. I, as part of the sheriff's office, became a supervisor, was involved in county government at that level, also became involved with the drug court program as liaison, and actually served on the management team, learning about grants, support through the programs, working with all the county agencies, attorneys, courts, judges, and offices. Pretty much everybody in the courthouse recognizes me when I come in. I say hi to them very frequently because I now work for the code enforcement for the county planning office due to having to take a medical disability 3 years ago. And the joy of being a part of this county is there. I was celebrating the fact that I wanted to do that job so I could be out in the county traveling and seeing and learning this county. And that was what I had planned to do when I retired. Now I get to do it as a job. And Dave O'Malley, thank you for running for sheriff so I could do that 4 years ago. And I celebrate, and I know it's a job, it's a challenge, but I appreciate having been sitting in on the county commission meetings for the last 6 months, learning a lot of what's there. There is a lot, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Gary. Now, I'm going to sort of mix it up so that Tim doesn't have to answer every question first. So I'm going to go right back to you, Gary. What is your position on renewing the optional 1 cent sales tax, the so-called 5th cent?
My position on the 5th cent sales tax is, even though taxes are a burden, this is one of the few options we have in Albany County to support our programs, and if we did not have the revenues from this tax, our county would be in dire straits. I strongly encourage everyone to support that, and I will do what I can to help. I mean, all the parts of the county and the city, all the agencies that we have, the volunteers and stuff, they rely on that 5th cent. Without an state income tax, and I don't want one, I'd rather have that 5th cent sales tax.
Thank you. Ray?
Thank you. I also support the 5th cent tax. Taxes sometimes do have a bad rep, but I believe that there are services that we'd like to provide to ourselves, and this is the way to do that most fairly. And we have a number of agencies that do rely on this tax income that would suffer greatly, and we would see the loss in our community if we did not have that income. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Jerry?
Well, I definitely support the 5th cent tax. Without the 5th cent tax, we wouldn't have government. It would be really bad. We need that. It's an even tax because it gets everybody in town, because you buy things and those taxes go. A lot of people don't own property, and therefore it kind of evens it out. Everything is supported by that tax. It comes back to everybody, and it's just so important.
Thank you, Jerry. Pat?
Susan Simpson and I are serving on a committee to promote the optional 1 cent sales tax, so I better be careful what I say here. If I say something.
She could crawl right up there.
Yeah, I know. She's in striking distance indeed. It's very important for the county. In my 20 years as a county commissioner, we use that money for road and bridge equipment, for sheriff's vehicles, and for a number of agencies in the county that really are providing some various services and important services to the county. And so it's very important indeed, along with the specific purpose tax that goes to specific items. This is a general tax that we can use on various items in the county, and I know that Klaus Hansen would echo the sentiments that have been said so far, how important it is to the county, but not only to the county, but the city operations indeed, and they rely on that about $4 million, I think, per year, and that's a big operation for the city. So very important indeed, and we hope that we can get the word out. We're going to be speaking to various organizations throughout the fall, because the tax will be voted on in November, so we're going to try and get the word out to a number of civic organizations and try and get that word out to promote the tax.
Thank you, Pat. John?
Obviously in this county we're very poor. We have very few mineral severance royalties coming in. I would like to work on economic development and maybe some wind energy severance and other things that maybe we can get into the county. I would like to work on the budgets to the point that through economic development and working on the budgets that we can get to the point that 4 years from now we will not have to vote on another 1 cent sales tax.
Thank you, John. Tim?
Well, I think we live in a very unique place. I didn't hear John actually say if he supported the tax or not. But we have 5 politicians sitting here that all agreed on the same thing, and that's very unique in the world that 5 people could agree on anything. So I very much support the tax. Agencies in this county would be in dire straits. Safe Project, Epson Center, sheriff vehicles, things like that. It's the library. My lord, the library, we really need to get some more money into the library, get the library open on Mondays, and I very much support the tax, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Tim. Okay. Maybe we're down to Jerry for this one to start. As a county commissioner, what actions would you take to recruit and secure opportunities of community development, such as wind energy and other businesses outside of the city limits? And I'm going to modify that a little bit to include inside the city limits, because as county commissioners, you represent us all.
Well, economic development is very important. As far as what you can do to bring in economic development, I think we all work toward that goal. We have one person in the county that's done just a tremendous job, and it's coming on fast, and that's Sheila Schmetzler. She's got a deal going on out of town here to the north, and it's going to be a real boon to the city as well as to the county, because there's jobs that will be necessary that will come from the city, trucking and labor force and everything else. So that's a real important one that we're seeing on the horizon right now. There's a jillion different things that we need to support for economic development.
Thank you, Jerry. I'll go to Ray next.
The economic development picture in town is pretty evident. We hear it a lot. We see the city getting involved with economic development, county getting involved, trying to entice business to town. So we have the Sierra Sky Park is going to be a huge benefit to the community. And so that's going to be the next focus. And so we're going to have to understand that we may have to go out and try to support that through additional grants to get additional companies or support for companies to come into the Sierra Sky Park. I'm getting a little confused here. Let me regroup. I've probably got 30 seconds left. So,
You okay?
yeah, I'm okay. Who's the first one? Who's the new politician on the stand here? Right here. So, I'm going to tell you that that's our next focus. So what is it to come into town? I don't think that wind energy is huge on the horizon, since we don't have the transmission capabilities currently. It could be next, but the next thing we're going to see is businesses come to town, because we will have a park ready to go.
Thank you, Ray. Go on to Gary.
The economic development area is one of the things I'm excited to be working with. I've been able to be part of the beautification committee, which is a subgroup that, when a lot of this work with the economic development is done through that committee. And we've seen some neat things happen. And my theme for my campaign is partnering for people. The idea is with the university, the energy research center that's being built there, with the city, with Cyrus Sky Park, we've got some great opportunities. I want to see the county plug into those. And as my role as a code enforcement officer, the landfill is an issue, but the landfill is also an opportunity. We need to recruit a business that will take glass. We need to recruit business that will take care of our recyclables. If we can't truck them out of town, let's bring a business here. And I'd like to work with the Economic Development Committee to find somebody that can do that and make use of those resources. And all the best resources are our people, the university, and the students. Let's find ways of getting jobs that aren't just fast food jobs, which is what my kids have to do now to live in Laramie.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to go to Tim now.
Yeah, I think everybody said on the Sirius Sky Park, I think that's a great opportunity to get people who gotten ready make the climate ready for businesses to move in here. Also, I think the Pete Lean and Associates quarry is going to go a long ways to getting some economic development because the tertiary businesses will have to come in to help support that. Also, we're working very well with the city and the economic development program in the city with Dan Furphy on recruiting businesses to come in on the rail spur south of town. We're right on the verge of getting a company to come in on that may employ up to 200 people. I think those are the opportunities that we have there. I think the wind is going to be big. We do have to get the transmission lines out, but the wind technology, our wind is too strong here to be marketable at the moment. The technologies are coming around, changing the turbines, not being spinning turbines to maybe vortex turbines. We need to be looking at technologies and supporting that, and that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. John?
I sat on a meeting about 3 years ago with a wind farm that wants to come in south of the county, down south by Tie Siding, and they want to put several hundred windmills up there, and we need to get them coming in here, with or without transmission lines. The number one reason is the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost, and the more tax incentives we're going to have to give them to get them to come into the county. So we need to work on all these things and some more mineral severance through quarries coming into the county, and some more business that we can steal from Colorado to come up here into the county. So I'd like to see a lot more wind projects in this county where you have the prime place to do those types of projects, and we can't delay any longer. It's just going to cost more and more. It's inevitable that solar and wind energy are going to come, and let's do it now while it's less expensive.
Thank you, John. Pat?
When I served as a commissioner, we had a number of businesses and organizations that wanted to come into the county, and we worked with all of these businesses under our specific rules and regulations in planning and zoning. And a lot of times you have to be very careful. Everybody wants to see development, but I think we want development on our own terms, and so we have to be very specific and very, very careful on what we actually bring into the county. But I think we have some excellent opportunity. If you look around the city and county right now, there's so many activities going on. As mentioned, the Cirrus Park, all the construction going on at the University of Wyoming, lots of things going on here, and I think the future looks bright. Tim mentioned Pete Lean and Sons quarry. When I was on the commission, we talked about that. It took a while to get everything finalized, but that's up and going to be going here pretty soon. And so I think with our grants office, Sheila did an excellent job in getting the right grants available for some of these people and incentives to bring into the county, and so I think we're on the right track.
Thank you, Pat. I'm going to go to Tim again for the next question, and Mike touched on it, but you'll have time to contemplate and amplify. The question is, when will we get recycling for county residents?
We're starting the discussion with the city, the university, and the county, and working together with getting something. We're not going to be, one of us is not going to be able to do it on our own, but working together, I think, with the university and the city, we can put together a program to get either a business in here or get the university taking the lead role because they've got the infrastructure already ready for the recycling. I think we can borrow and buy some of the equipment from the ARC that's just sitting there being unused now, and I think that's the future. We've got the Front Range of Colorado that we can get all this stuff out to, and I think it's going to be paramount with the new landfill, making things work better there and not throwing our garbage away. It drives me crazy because the power plant on the university was built to burn our garbage, and things happened they turned around. The city didn't work that out, and it's burning coal. I've been told it can be retrofitted to go back and burn garbage, but I don't believe that's true, and I think that's another thing we need to look into.
Thank you. Tim, John?
First of all, in the county, we need a lot of more remote locations to collect our garbage and our recyclables so that people don't have to drive all the way into town to collect those or to turn those in. So a lot more remote collection areas. From there, we do need to get a business into town that can recycle the things that the city doesn't seem to be able to recycle and make it economically profitable and create some jobs.
Pat?
There's a group, and I can't remember, Klaus, you might remember, but Vicki Henry is heading it up, that is recycling glass on a periodic basis, I think every couple of weeks. Right now, today and tomorrow out at Walmart, there's a conservation group, I can't remember the exact name of it, but we do have some concerned people right now that are recycling, and I would like to see perhaps the Road and Bridge in partnership with the city and the county, as John has mentioned, maybe have some remote sites for collectibles in the county, maybe Rock River, Centennial, wherever it might be, have some spots that people could drop off their recyclables. We could bring them into Laramie, and in partnership with the city and or this conservation group, at least for the glass, that they will take down to Colorado for recycling. So I think there's some possibilities in front of us here, because I'm very concerned. Every time, I don't go down to Colorado that often, but I always take my glass down to Fort Collins. There's a place down there that you can recycle, because it is a little frustrating at times not to be able to recycle now that the ARC and the city are not recycling the glass part. So I think there are some possibilities in front of us here, and partnerships really go a long way.
Thanks, Pat. Jerry?
Well, it's really too bad that the ARC is not recycling anymore. That probably really hurt more than people believe. I had this question posed to me the 4th of July. A lady was telling about what it cost her to try and take things to the dump to get some recycling stuff done, and it was absolutely shocking at what the city was doing with that situation. We have to keep the recyclable things out of the landfill. It just takes up so much space in there that could be used for everything. And I think it's going to take some time. We're going to have to just support industries. It's something that when people come up with it, if there's a way we can support them and get them started a little bit. Funds are short, so we can't put a lot of money in it, but just open up some regulations or make sure that they can operate. Thank you.
I do think, so in order for it to be successful, I do believe that a recycling program countywide will have to be subsidized by the government. I don't see that the ARC had struggled with it being economically feasible. It's not a moneymaker. Recycling just isn't. Until something makes it so, it's not going to be economically feasible. So how do we do that? What do we do about that? Well, if we want to be a steward to the county, we're going to have to say it's important to us and get the community involved and say, yes, this is important to us. We want to spend our resources on this, and then the community support. But some folks may not want to spend money on recycling. So we're going to have to get consensus, and then we're going to have to plan. How do we do that? Remote sites is a great idea. You do have to, you don't feel like putting a bunch of smelly cans and bottles in your car and driving around town. That's not something that you want to do, so we have to make it convenient. If it's important to us, we can find a way to do that, but it's going to take planning, and it's going to take setting aside dollars and then finding the dollars to do that. Thank you.
I received an email a short time back from the Carton Council of America, and they wanted to publicize the fact that the landfill here will accept cardboard cartons. And so we double checked that, and they will. However, if you're a county resident or a city resident, you take a load of trash out there, whether it's recyclable or not, you still have to pay the entrance fee. So you can recycle your cardboard, but it's $12 to get in the dump if you're a county resident. On August 23rd, we will have our county cleanup day, and the fees will be waived. So bring your cardboard that day, and you won't have to pay on that day. Hopefully we can set that kind of program up for all kinds of situations, all kinds of recyclable materials. I was out at the one today, and they mentioned that there's a lady at UW that was just there before me. In fact, she left as I arrived, and she has talked about a number of things that are happening at the UW where they are working very hard to get recycling going again. We've got to be partnering with that and getting that going. And if we do it well, we might be able to cut the cost down or maybe make it profitable. We can dream.
Thank you, Gary. I had two questions dealing with this, so I'm going to just sort of condense them into one. The Albany County Library has been operating under budget restraints for a number of years. If you would like to have the library open on Mondays, would you support more funding for the library, including staff raises? And we're going to start with Pat.
Staff raises. We discussed that a number of times when I was on the commission, and one of the things I would really like to see is extended hours on the weekend and also open on Monday, and whatever I could do as a commissioner, I would certainly do. But of course, that would come and probably without excess revenue or additional revenue, probably have to cut back on some other program in the county to do that as it stands right now, because I've talked to Commissioner Sullivan and to Commissioner Chestnut about that, because that was one of the frustrations. I had heard that the library being closed on Monday and limited hours on the weekends was not sufficient, and I heard some comments that they would like to see that done. So, well, whatever it would take, I certainly approach that and try to do whatever I could within my limited power as a commissioner to do something funding-wise to support the library. I think it's very important. You come in here on the weekends, you see this place is packed, a lot of people on the computers and so on, and then 5 o'clock, 1 to 5, you know, it's not very much. Yet they shut it down. So I would like to see that, and I would do whatever I could as commissioner to get some additional funding for the library.
Okay, Pat, great answer for part of my question. The other part is staff raises.
Staff raises.
The questioner said that, and I have no idea that this is correct, but you can tell me, that there have not been staff raises for 4 years.
Now the library operates with a board. They have 5 or 7 members, Susan? 5 members.
Ask them.
Yep. 5 members on the board, and so they control the budget to a certain extent. The county controls the mill levy, and so that is another part of the budget situation for the library. But there is a board that takes a look at the finances for the library, and so we don't go in and micromanage that much with the library because of that board situation. And so I think that would be primarily a responsibility of the library board to see what they could do within their power to increase, maybe cut back on some other things in the library to increase salaries. But I would certainly leave that to the library board.
Thank you, Pat. We're going to move to John next.
I'm a 35-year educator at Wyotech. I believe in education. I believe that research and reading and doing projects outside of the school that broaden your mind are important, so I fully support the library and keeping the hours open longer on Monday and nights. we have to do this. If the county commissioners need to raise the mill levy or create or use the mill levy that's there for the library, we need to do that. We need to support the library for the whole community, especially the young people. We need to give them an alternative. Let them learn to read and enjoy that instead of some of the things they're doing. So we have to give them the opportunity of using the library. And I fully support pay raises on a regular basis for all employees, county employees, state employees, university employees, and hopefully WyoTech employees.
Thanks, John. We'll move to Tim now.
Yeah, actually, I talked with Cindy Moore, the county librarian, about this before this meeting. We need to get together. I'm the liaison to the library board for the county, and the library is the only part of the county that's not getting raised this year. The fair board, I'm not sure what the fair board's done with theirs, but the library employees are not getting raised this year. We are in a situation right now where the county's growing. We had a 2.3% increase in property values this year, property assessment, and we've got some savings. And I talked about this a little late in the budget process, but we put money into savings this year. We've got good savings that we've built up. We need to get together with the Library Foundation, the library board, and the county commissioners, sit down in a room together and talk about this, because it's gotten a critical mass. We've lost a wonderful employee at the library to the city recently, and we've got wonderful employees out there that they love their job here, but they won't stay forever if we don't compensate them. So we got to get up the mill levy based on the increase in property values, and work with the library board and the Library Foundation board to get this thing done.
Thank you, Tim. We'll now move to Gary.
I also support the library, but I'm married to a library employee, so I guess I need to do that. And we have faced the critical mass of how do we keep making our budgets work on no increases for 4 years. I want to thank the commissioners for the raises the county employees received, but we do need to compensate our employees for the work they're doing. Even in the community, the Albany County Public Library is not paid equivalent to the university. They do similar work, they're not receiving the same compensation. We need to look at that and see if we can improve that. My thought is, I want to kickstart something, or one of those organizations that you can do to do fundraising. Try to do some outside sources. We've got to come up with something new. I think we're close to our mill levy cap for the library, aren't we?
No.
We have.
No. There's a possibility we could raise that mill levy. It's a burdensome thing, raising taxes. But if we're in a critical situation, we need to look at that. And we need to look at other ways to bring funds in. We've got to get creative. We've got to partner with our library. And I think it's probably one of the shakiest parts of our county right now. We need to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We'll go to Ray.
So we talked about economic development a little bit ago, and we mentioned beautification and what amenities we have in our community to bring people to the community and relocate to Laramie and the county. And why is the library not on par with, say, a rec center? We say, oh, we need a rec center, so we have people come into our communities who would see this and say, wow, I want to live here. And then we give the library not much attention. I don't think that's right. We certainly need to elevate the library to the same level as a recreation center, because it's that important to the community. When we begin to realize that, then we begin to plan and say, you know what, we do want to support the library. We can find in the budget, I'm sure, some dollars that we say this is important to us. We're going to ensure that the library gets the funding that they need. And if the library board spends it on salaries, fine. At some point, we come and say, wow, you guys are making more than the governor. Maybe we have a problem. But if that's not happening, it's up to the board to monitor that. But that's the key. I just think we need to understand what it is we value and then support what we value. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Jerry?
Well, this last couple of years, we have changed the funding just a little bit. They still get a mill levy thing, but we're trying to keep that money coming to them in a flow so that they can plan ahead and handle some of the obstacles that keep coming up. Yes, it needs to be funded, and there's good possibility that there may be some funding to keep it open a few extra hours. We've talked about that a lot. And Tim wanted to try and get something done this year. I don't know whether we're going to manage that, but it's on the forefront, and the library is very important to Laramie as well as the rural areas.
Thank you, Jerry. I think anybody who's read Boomerang or any other news source over the past year has understood that there's been some discussion, perhaps controversy, about artworks on the grounds of the county courthouse. And I would like to ask each of you what your position is on art on the county courthouse lawns. I'll start with Tim.
Great. Well, I think one thing that's changed about this community in the last 5 years is there's a focus on art. There were no sculpture out in the parks or on the city property or county property 5 years ago, and that's changed with what the university's been doing with loaning some of their sculptures out. I can't believe how many people come up to me and hate that chrome alligator on City Hall. I love that alligator. It's just great. And so I think one thing with David Rive's sculpture coming in, I really believe it's a wonderful project. I think it's going to, like I said 5 years ago when we started this, if nothing else, it's going to start a dialogue about art in this community, and that's what it's done. And sure, a lot of the haters will come out of the woodworks, but all I ask you is to give it a chance. The sculpture is going to go up probably early next year, and it's going to be very unique. And I think the picture that was in the paper was distorted, and it's a one-dimensional copy of a three-dimensional piece of art. So please give it a chance. I think it's a wonderful work of art, and it's been great working with David Rife. I think we need to get more art in. I think the mural projects downtown are changing this town, and I think it's all for the better. Even if you don't like art, it starts a dialogue about art is a necessary part of a community and society.
Thank you, Tim. John?
If we can get art in this community on a grant or a loan from the university or other places, I totally agree with that at this time in a poor county. When we could give some of that money maybe instead to the library, or maybe use some of that money instead to prevent a 1 cent sales tax increase, and maybe go with a 1/2 cent sales tax increase. I would rather prioritize our money towards those things first. Art's important, but there's other ways to get it than using county money or city money for those purposes.
Thank you, John. Pat?
Now, Terry, the question was art on county grounds? Is that what you're talking about?
Specifically the county courthouse grounds.
Right. Just wanted to make sure.
That's the question I got. Yeah.
Right. I think as a commissioner that if we are approached to put some art on the county grounds, that we should have a discussion between employees, department heads, whatever it might be. Dr. Rife's sculpture was presented a number of years ago. There was drawings made, and I don't think I guess some people thought it was kind of a surprise once it was ready to be put up on the county grounds, but it was certainly out before the public a number of years. And aside from that, I think if we are in the future going to put something on the county grounds, that we need to discuss it with employees, county officials, and others to see what kind of reaction we might have. Because as a county commissioner, I certainly don't want to be up there making a decision by myself and saying, oh, this is great. I would like input from other people indeed.
Thank you, Pat. Jerry?
Well, as Pat said, that sculpture was decided on a long time ago. It's old, it's done. It's going to be put there. It's not going to be as offensive as it looks like from all of the things that I've seen. I have not gone out and looked at it. I have been invited out to see it. It's in the process of being colored right now, I think, in Cheyenne. It's going to be a pretty good size piece of art. And if you like art, you like certain kinds of art, that's great. If you don't like that type of art, then you're not going to like it. And I think we just have to deal with the fact that there is art, and that statue will be placed there. The foundation is all set and ready, and we have one that we put with some antelope on the front lawn, and you know, it's a nice piece too. I can't say that I'm for certain art types, but it is art, and everybody has their opinion.
Thanks, Jerry. Ray?
I think that since everyone does have their opinion, and the county courthouse is for everyone in the county, we don't have any business getting controversial art on our county property. We all have to enter the courthouse for various reasons, and we want to appreciate what we're looking at. Something innocuous like antelope, yeah, that makes sense. It breaks up the lawn, but you know, I think we had $5,000 in a matching grant, maybe $6,000 for the foundation. That's money that we could spend elsewhere. If we wanted to have art grants, that I know that the state offers some grants, but there's other places in town that could house these things. Other businesses can donate property. There's other areas. It doesn't have to be on the courthouse lawn that you have to walk past and look at every time you go in the courthouse. That's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Gary?
I guess I almost disagree with Ray on that, and that's because of the diversity of folks we have in our community. I would invite that diversity to be represented on our courthouse property, and there's going to be some things I'm not going to be very pleased about, but there's going to be other things I'm really enthusiastic about. I noticed when I came in today that the memorial on the corner for the veterans has been improved. It looks so much better. That kind of thing is a statement that needs to be on our courthouse property. But we also need to represent all the other cultures and backgrounds and folks, whether it's the hunters who have elk, or the university who has some abstract thinkers that challenge us to think differently, or we need to have some Hispanic art. We have some places, memorials for Daphne Salt and the domestic violence. The courthouse has got a lot of things going on. We also need to probably put some information so that everybody knows what's happening there. And not all of it's going to cost us money to do, but we need to be responsible with representing all the aspects of our community, diversity, railroads, livestock, ranching, university, abstract. Think about it, all the ways we can be part of it.
Thank you, Gary. The next question I have deals with public comments. Again, there's been some controversy, especially with the city council, as to the proper placement of public comments in official meetings of the council. And the commission has public comments as well. And I guess I would like to hear, I think this person who asked this would like to hear your thoughts on the proper placement of public comment in terms of how it would help inform you as you go about your work as a county commissioner. And we'll start with Tim.
Well, I think the proper placement is where we've got it right now. It's the third thing on the agenda. Every week, people can come in and talk about their public comments first thing in the meeting. Then we don't limit it to that. I mean, if people want to make comments later on in the meeting on a certain topic, they can make those public comments there. I think one thing that we've had at the county level that's just a little bit different from the city is we do have that openness, and we don't have the controversy that the city has because we don't have the money or the big problems that the city has. But I appreciate the public comments that people come in and make. I've been yelled at before in public comment period. I've been praised in a public comment period. So I think it's a necessary part of government. I think we are here to represent the people, and I think the people should be able to have a voice in government. I think there's one person in this community that does more public comment than most, and I think he's a very necessary part of government, and I appreciate what he brings to it. Thank you.
John?
Public comment is a necessary part. It's the most valuable part of what we do in our government here. Without the people telling us what they think, we can't make wise decisions. And one of the things I would like to see on the county commission is one of the 9 o'clock in the morning meetings move to after 5 o'clock so more citizens can participate in public comment. I would like to make comments a lot of times, but I have to work. I can't just take off from work and go make public comments. So it's one of the most important parts of the county commissioners making any decision is knowing what everybody's thinking and giving them ample opportunity to do so.
Thanks, John. Pat?
Well, as Tim mentioned, it's number 3 on the agenda after roll call and the pledge, I believe, right now. And that's where it would stay. I fully endorse public comment at the beginning of the meeting so people don't have to stay throughout the entire meeting if they want to talk about something that's not on the agenda. And of course, when we held our meetings in my term as commissioner, we would also take public comment on specific items that were on the agenda. But if somebody wanted to get up, Tim Hale wants to get up and talk about something going on that doesn't pertain to anything else on the agenda, have at it. I mean, that's what we're there for. We don't really limit the number of minutes, although, you know, if it gets too lengthy, I don't know what you guys do now, but, you know, I know the council in the past, city council has limited the number of minutes for comments. But anyway, I think it's very important that we allow the public, if they want to come and say something right at the beginning so they don't have to stay, they can go back to work or whatever, and get started right off with public comment. Very important.
Jerry?
Well, I'll tell you, it is important. It's good to have people come and comment. We learn a lot of things that we may not see, we may not understand that's going on out in the community. And when we have those public comments, it opens our eyes to what is going on. And maybe we don't necessarily believe that we need to carry on through it, but we need to listen to what people have to say to us. And you know, that's what it's all about. And also, you know, when we have comments and items on the agenda, we do allow people to comment on that. We don't have a closed book on that. And it's good to have everybody's viewpoint because everybody does have an opinion on things. Sometimes we don't want to hear them, sometimes you don't want to hear us, but that's the way it is. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Ray?
I too agree that the public comment period is very important at the meetings, and at the beginning of the meeting, that's where it should stay. It does allow you again to get in and address the commissioners, let them know what's on your mind, and then if you're not on an agenda item, you can leave. And I do appreciate that when agenda items are being addressed, that the commissioners are willing to allow public comment at that period as well, just so they have as much information as they possibly can in order to make the most intelligent decision. I do think that meetings should be in the evenings. I also work, and it's much more convenient for public to attend the meetings, and I think we'd have much more input if they were in the evenings. I think also that there should be structured work sessions. So when there are topics that arise that need more in-depth conversation than you can amass in a public comment period or stretching out agenda items, there needs to have that avenue. So we need to have those. We should also be having meetings around the county. There's no reason we can't go and hold a meeting in Rock River. We can hold them in Centennial. We can hold them where we need to hold special meetings, just so we can hear from the entire county and engage our citizenry.
Thanks, Ray. Gary?
I also believe that the way to set up with the public comment at the start of the meeting is a good thing, to hear from the people, give them a chance to be able to get out and say what they need to say and then be able to leave to other business. I would encourage us to look at another opportunity too we have. I know our IT department, Rodney Weekly and staff, are looking at being able to stream county commissioner meetings so that the public can have access. And perhaps there's a way of putting a place on their blogs for comments. I know newspaper comments on the articles in the newspaper, on the online editions, can be really helpful, sometimes entertaining, sometimes challenging. And those comments are helpful, though, in getting an idea of what people think, what they want, how they want to use it. And as a commissioner, I want to make myself available to listen to anybody in the county who has a concern, not just in public comment, but individually. My phone numbers are there, my email's there. I want to be available, and I know that's a very important part of being available to the citizen and being able to share with the other commissioners those comments, those concerns of all the county.
Thank you. The next question, I think is an important one. I don't completely understand every bit of it, but I'm going to try my best. It's with regard to aquifer protection. And the questioner states, and I do not know if this is correct, but I assume it is, that the new resolution regarding aquifer protection includes provisions for changing the boundaries of the protected area based on verifiable scientific evidence. But it goes on to state, such scientific evidence shall not include. If you're elected to the county commission, what role do you see for verifiable scientific evidence in your decision making? And would you vote to reconsider the provision in the present aquifer protection regarding the use of certain scientific data? And we'll start with Pat. Lucky Pat.
That's a good question. Well, I think as a commissioner, you have to rely on scientific information, because as a commissioner and in my particular role, I'm not a scientist or a chemist or any of the other areas of scientific expertise. As a commissioner, I think you have to really look at people like Byrne and other individuals in the county, that geologists that know what they're talking about, and have to follow to a certain extent some of the studies that have been done and some of the recommendations they might make, and then you compile all of the information as a commission from other individuals, from the city people, from the county people, your scientific people, and then make an informed decision as best as you can. It's a very difficult science indeed. Aquifer protection involves a lot of different things. As I remember trying to protect the aquifer, and we got a lot of input from a lot of different people, and so I think you have to gather it all in and make the best decision you can.
Thanks, Pat. Now we're going to go this way, and then we're going to go that way, and then end up with Jerry.
Conclusive scientific evidence to make a decision about the aquifer at this time. I don't think there is conclusive evidence one way or the other. You talk to one group, they have scientists on that side saying this is conclusive. You talk to the other group, their scientists say this is conclusive. At this time, without further and better science, we can't make that decision. So right now, if I had to make a decision, I would make that decision based on protecting the people's property rights that currently live there. Remembering that the people that live there also drink that water and are not going to go out their way to pollute the aquifer. So right now I don't think we have conclusive science on either way. Yes, we want to protect the aquifer. It's important to our future. But until we get there, we need to protect people's property rights.
Thank you, John. We'll go to Tim.
Yeah, I think that's exactly true. I think when you get 10 lawyers in a room and you ask for an opinion, you're going to get 10 different opinions. It kind of came out the same way with geologists. The fact is, we don't know exactly where the aquifer runs, and we don't know exactly where a lot of the things are. We do know definitely where some of the recharge areas are. We do know an outline based on geology, where the things lie. You have to make some arbitrary decisions when you become a commissioner. We listen to both sides of the geological argument on it, and we made it, the boundary area as close and as good as we could to protect the landowners and the water. So I think you have to, just when you're a commissioner, you have to weigh what those things are. We made the decision, we're moving forward. I think the aquifer protection, what we're doing, the mitigation, hopefully along the interstate will help. We need to have some stuff on the ground, so if a spill happens on the interstate, that we're there and ready to clean it up as quickly as possible, because that's the real danger with the aquifer, is getting something off the interstate. The thousands of truckloads of hazardous material that come through here a day. So we got to protect it there and do our best to protect property rights as we're doing it along the way.
Thank you, Tim. We'll go to Gary.
Well, part of my job as code enforcement officer is to help clean up messes. And if there is a spill in the aquifer, I'll have to go out there and be dealing with that, working on the fracture zones and trying to figure out how we can do that. I don't know enough about it. I'm going to have to rely on scientists, geologists, cleanup personnel to do that. As a commissioner, that's our job, is to rely on the expertise of people we can trust to bring us more information. It is so important because we don't realize how much that water can be contaminated so easily. And science gives us a lot of tools to work with, and we have to make the best guess to protect our citizens at the best price. And it's a hard choice, and as a commissioner, we're going to have some of these hard choices. I like the way the plan is done right now. I want to learn more about it and be better prepared to deal with it.
Thank you, Gary. Ray?
Scientific consensus is certainly paramount to the solution. If we as a county, and even as a city who has had probably a little more experience with their ordinance, value the protecting the aquifer, then we need to figure out how we go about getting that consensus. But currently we put it on landowners who are developers, and we say, well, you're in the zone, so now we have this vulnerable feature in your way, so you can't develop however you choose to develop. Well, that landowner can go hire another geologist and come up with a different opinion and come to the commission and say, this is what we have, and now here we are making a decision based on who do we like better. That's not the way to do it. We need to just say, it's important, let's go out and make a comprehensive analysis of the geology and say once and for all, this is what it is. Is that free? No, it's not free. It's going to cost money. But if we're planning and we find the money through grants and through other avenues, we will have, it will be accomplished. Right now, all we do is we just kick the can down the road until the next landowner comes up and has an issue, and then we wait to see what their geology says. And so I would support getting working towards getting consensus and doing it fairly quickly. We don't have a lot of time as development continues, and yes, we keep hearing the truck on the highway. Well, if it's important, why are we not doing something about it? The people would say, well, it must not be important. So it's one or the other. We're either going to take care of it or we're not going to take care of it.
Thanks, Ray. We'll go to Jerry for the final word on this question.
Okay, the aquifer protection is very important. The people's rights that live out over that recharge area is very important. It is their lives. And yes, if we had a spill, it would be bad. We don't want a spill. We want to keep it clean and using the best geology that we can find and try and get those areas so that it will be clean. We have some stuff along I-80. We're going to be doing some work there with some fractured places that need to be sealed up right along the creek there. Try and get that sealed up. But there's a lot of vulnerability out there that it's just a geologist question, and we have to weigh all of the sides and hope we get things so we don't ruin people's rights to live either in the city or in the country.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, I'm going to really switch topics now. The county commissioners are elected. So are other county officials. But the county commissioners have the power of the purse. And so the question, I'm going to rephrase the one I got, is how do you promote fiscal integrity and transparency in county offices, given that you're elected, they're elected, but you set the budgets? And we'll start with Tim.
Well, I think transparency is paramount. We're working right now, Tim Sullivan's kind of spearheading a thing to get all of the vouchers put up on the internet so that people can see how the money's being spent. We go through the vouchers before every meeting and see how the things are being done. Sometimes we don't see things until it's too late that we would question, but it's working out, it works out very well with the county officers. I think Jackie Gonzalez as the budget officer keeps us well informed about how things are going with the way the money's being spent. I think that's what the main role of the county commissioners is to decide where the money goes and where it gets spent and what the priorities are. So it's one of probably the toughest parts of the job when you're going through budget, but we deal with it every year and we try to decide what where it needs to be spent and where the best money is spent. I think Sheila Schermetzler, she's come up several times in the conversation. She does everything she can to keep the money flowing into this county and keep all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted, where all the grant money is being spent and how in policing that we're doing it the right way, so we're not getting findings on our audit, and that we are spending the money the right way, and basically between Jackie and Sheila, they keep us out of prison.
Thanks, Tim. John?
I sit on the Albany County Fire Board, and our budget process is a little bit different. Every month the chiefs come forward and say, we would like to spend this money next month. Obviously you're going to have some unplanned expenditures on occasion, but our transparency is we get approval before we spend the money. And I think currently there's a lot of spending that goes on that they bring to the county commissioners or on the city council side. They bring it in after they've spent it and ask for approval. So we need to get approval on anything over a certain amount of money that's not especially that's not a normal expenditure of day-to-day operations prior to that money to being spent. And we will have better transparency there than approving it after it's spent, which my granddaughter likes to do.
Thanks, John. Pat?
It's a very close balancing act, I guess you could call it, of trying to satisfy all the different departments in the county. As a commissioner overseeing various offices of the elected officials, because they have certain responsibilities dictated by state statute. And so you have to, as we have in the past, sit down with each department head. When it's their turn, they come in with their needs and concerns. And maybe this year, you know, I didn't spend this much money because I thought that something was going to happen, or our trucks operated pretty well. We can go ahead and continue. We don't need any new road graders this year for road and bridge, perhaps. Then the sheriff's department might come in and say, well, we had a couple of cars break down and we need some extra money in that particular department. So as commissioners and department heads, I think a lot of us understand where everyone is coming from, and you have to really weigh all of the various requests and make the best decision you can, because there's a lot of needs in the county and very limited funds. And so it's been very workable in my experience that department heads really understand where we're coming from and you know, the tough job we have as commissioners.
Thanks, Pat. Jerry?
Well, I guess first of all of the elected officials, we kind of get along like we're equals. We're not going to tell them exactly what they have to do. Same with the department heads. And everybody is pretty conscious about what they're doing. We have very few problems that way. I think this year was probably the best one that we've had in a long time. Everybody got together, they got the budgets pretty well ironed out, and about all we had to do was kind of say amen to it. So, you know, I think when we treat one another equals and we respect everybody, I think that's 2/3 of the budget process.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll go on to Ray.
Well, I think that for each department, again, back to planning, they're going to have to determine what it is they want to accomplish in the coming fiscal year. They're going to have to provide then a budget that matches, it meets their needs. This is what we want to accomplish, this is what it's going to cost, and this is where we're going to spend our money. Then they have line items in their budget broken out in detail enough that we as a commissioner will know what they're spending their money on. So then when they come in on a monthly basis and say, this is what we're spending this month, this is what line item it gets allocated to. It's pretty transparent that way. We know if there's someone that needs to spend more in a category and less than another, they're going to have to explain that. What took place there, just enough so that the commission understands that and we can move forward. Putting all of these vouchers online for review of the community, I think is probably going to add to more work and more confusion than benefit. I mean, we will all be answering every question as to exactly what things were, and that's what the commission's role is. I don't think it's the community's role to be gauging each individual one. But overall, as a plan, that's what we mentioned, transparency. That's how the commission then can say, yes, these dollars were spent in the line item that the department had indicated, and be confident that it's being spent properly.
Thanks, Ray. Go to Gary.
I want to say a big thank you for the process this year for the budgeting. Jackie and Dave and the department heads gathered together and put together that budget, and I appreciated being able to sit in and watch that be presented and explained. And it was very clear for me, even though I'd been part of it in the past of putting line items in, the whole thing didn't come together until this year, and I saw you all working together, and I understand it's a lot better. Everybody seemed to be talking together and knowing what needed to be done. We've still got some problem areas though. I mean, we heard about the libraries area. We've got public health that's got some concerns there and how that works. The Fair Board has some challenges they're looking at. There are some areas we've got to look at and involve in this process to help make decisions. What gets funded, what doesn't, what's most important for the citizens. We need citizen input and decision, even though we as commissioners will make the final decisions over recommendations that come.
Thank you. This questionnaire says that courthouse security is an issue nationwide, and they're wondering how a court security unit, I'm assuming they really mean courthouse security unit, in the sheriff's office might be funded. And we'll start with Pat. And you might even discuss a bit about the need, what it might entail.
So how courthouse security would be funded?
Yeah, and I guess in a sense, do you feel our courthouse is a secure place? And if there are security issues, would the sheriff's office be the place to address those issues? And if it took additional funding, how would that come about?
I know the state has put together an organization group that was instrumental in getting courthouse security funded. And I'm not really sure where that is right now since I haven't been on the commission for a while, but I know there's a concern out there, and I think we have a concern in the Albany County Courthouse that needs to be addressed because there's too many entrances right now that people can go into. And I know that the judge and the sheriff and I think Jerry is on that particular commission to look at courthouse security, but there again, we're looking at funding mechanism to do that. I know they would like to have one entrance for people to come into and to be manned with security, and of course that comes with a tremendous cost. So I don't know, without state funds to make that possible, I'm not sure how the county would actually do that, and I'm just not really up to speed on where the commission is right now in courthouse security. But I know it's a concern, it needs to be addressed, and we would more than likely have to go to the state to ask for some assistance in that area to have it accomplished.
Thank you, Pat. We'll now go to the guy who knows, Jerry.
Well, I wish I had some real brilliant questions that I could give you to think about. Yes, we have so many entrances into the courthouse. When I was first elected, I wanted to, along with Teddy Nagel, build a court building. And then the people that went to the courts, the lawyers and everything, would have their own entrances, their own things, and the people in the courthouse would not have to deal with a lot of those things. But still, everybody in the courthouse is vulnerable. If somebody out there decides to get even with us at some point, everybody has to have a plan as to how to evacuate and do all those things. Funding is hard. There's no doubt about it. And it's a situation, I've thought a lot about it. If you had third and fourth floor blocked off for the courts, but then you have an elevator that runs from the basement all the way to the top. So that's not an answer either. And it's hard to man those security points and keep it right. Some counties have got it made and some don't. And this is just a hard one to protect. And I think Dave's trying to do the best he can with what we've got. We had a review and there was a lot of things that they found that we didn't even think about. So.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll go to Ray.
I am personally not up to speed with the security concerns at the courthouse, so I don't know enough about it. I understand from Jerry though that if there are some concerns, it's an expense, and again, back to planning, how do you accommodate an expense? Are there funds out there that the state can help with? Federal level, can they help? I do just not want to see us building a fortress in our community, because I don't believe we have that type of a community. So I would just want to be cautious about swinging the pendulum all the way over to the side where we feel we have this great danger that we're protecting ourselves from, because I don't believe that to be the case. Whether we're restricting some entrances and making it more private for the court system, that's one thing. Trying to say, well, we're going to have to screen people as they come in and have staff, have sheriff duties stationed by the doors. That's not the community that I want us to have. So that's not something I'd be in favor of. But common sense approaches, so maybe cameras or maybe limiting entrances, yeah, that makes sense, and it doesn't involve a tremendous cost. Perhaps that's a start.
Thanks, Ray. Going to Gary.
Well, having been in those hallways when somebody's ready to go after somebody else and being the one deputy that happened to be on the floor at the time, it is a concern. And it can happen in any situation. And I keep up with what's going on across the nation, and courtrooms and courthouses are at risk. We need to be able to respond somehow. We need to add some resources to our sheriff's department or our court security unit, which I assume, and I would like to see it stay with the sheriff's office. So it makes more sense to me. But that courthouse security unit needs to be there all the time, have a couple of people there. It takes 5 people to cover it, a 5-day week. You're talking a couple $100,000 a year easily just to cover the wages. It's a big, expensive operation, but the other cost is how many people do we lose when somebody irate opens up with their firearm. The judges have decided we don't want firearms in the courtroom, and that's in the courthouse. That's a good approach to make it a little safer for the staff, but you can't keep them out unless you do body searches. It's a quandary. It's an issue we're going to have to keep discussing. And I certainly want to see more, but I'm not sure how we're going to do it.
Thank you, Gary. We'll go to Tim.
Yeah, this is a topic we've been dealing with a lot in the last couple of years, and the fact of the matter is, I agree with you, Ray. I don't want the fortress there, but it's an unfunded mandate right now. What the state is going to tell us what we're going to have to do, and what it's probably going to come down to is guarding doorways, and where the money's going to come from, we don't know. It's $250,000 is what it's going to be for courthouse security, And the problem is, when they built the building, they weren't thinking about things like security. So we have unique problems where you could restrict it to one entrance, then you have a disability access problem. So each thing you do causes other problems. The money's going to have to come from somewhere because the state's going to mandate it. They put up funding for counties like us that don't have money for courthouse security, but all they're going to pay for is the magnometers and going to pay for the equipment. They're not going to pay for any man hours. So basically when it comes down to the state mandates it, and we're going to have to do it, then the money's going to have to come from somewhere, and it's going to be a tough decision we have to make. We're probably going to lose some people because we're going to have to fund that because the state, we don't have any choice if the state makes us do it.
Thanks, Tim. John?
If and when we have a state mandate, we will have to look at that. Currently, from my training and for security, for forward operating bases in combat zones, you can put all the people in, you can put all the equipment in, you can build barricades, and if somebody really wants in, they're still gonna get in. All right, so we can take all the precautions you want, but you can still have an incident. All right, so we don't want a fortress here. That's not Laramie, Wyoming. All right, until they mandate it, we have a sheriff downstairs in the basement of the courthouse when they bring prisoners over. There's a deputy with those people. There's a bailiff in the courtroom when there's trials going on. We have security there, and again, we could put 20 people in there, and if somebody really wants to get in and do something, you won't prevent it. And so I don't want to spend money where we do not have to yet at this time.
Thanks. I'd like to thank all the candidates. I appreciate your candor, your openness tonight. I'd like to thank the audience for your thoughtful questions. I hope I represented your questions adequately. The league has allocated, starting now, a time when the candidates and you may mingle together and get some one-on-one questions or conversations going between you. And again, thanks to the league, thanks to the library, thanks to the candidates, and thanks to the audience. Thank you.